Just put a label on it, even if it doesn't change the circumstance. Because there's so much about this moment that is trying to make people feel like they've lost their mind. When in fact, these motherfuckers are crazy.
Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome into Sandra P's Gen Extra. I hope everyone is doing great. I hope everyone is safe where they are, awaiting this weather. I don't know. I am in Charlotte, as people who watch me already know. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. A lot of times we get excited and then nothing happens. This time they are calling for, I think, more ice than snow. So we will see. We'll see. I'm probably just going to be shut in for the weekend. I don't like driving in this area at all. So I hope everyone comes in. Thank you so much coming into Sandra P's Gen Extra. This, of course, is Traders. This was season 4, Traders US, season 4. We are on episode 6. So last week they dropped 4 and 5. Now they're starting to do the rest of the season. They're going to do 1 episode a week. I was relieved when I heard that. And then I was like, oh, I needed to see the next part to what happened last night. Because last night was an excellent episode. Welcome in to one of my moderators, one of my A1 Day Ones, Mama Bees. Thank you so much for being here. Evening Sandra P, chat mods. So as you come in, if you will click the like button, I appreciate you so much for that. Thank you. And I'm going to do a recap, and then I'll do kind of a rant. Maybe we'll see what happens. But this was a really, really, really good episode. Excellent episode. We start out as we usually do with the faithfuls and the traders mixed in, entering the breakfast room. So we have Kristen, Maura, and Rob, who are excited to be first in. Of course, they look for the infamous salmon. And because they're first in, they're going to get a chance to get some. Because usually the last people in, it's usually gone. So they're speculating who's even coming to breakfast. We know one of the cliffhangers was if none of the faithfuls during one of their last challenges picked up a shield, then everyone would be safe, meaning no one would be subject to red rum, spell backwards. And I'll slip and say it, but I'm not sure how YouTube is with saying that, even though it's just a game we're talking about. So banishment will be done by the faithfuls, including a couple of traders sprinkled in. And the red rum or murder can be done by the traders. So they're speculating on whether or not they'll even have been the second part, because we don't know whether or not anyone received shields during the last challenge. So they just come in. Maura is saying it's just hard to trust anyone in the castle. True. We have next group that comes in is Candace, Tara, Lisa, and Mark come in together. And as they come in, they're always looking. They look at each other's outfits. They greet each other. Lisa points out that now that Michael is gone, they have lost a big distraction. So she's saying that in a confessional. The traders were kind of able to hide behind his antics, and now there's no bombastic Michael making loud proclamations and lurching around the castle and eating. Nothing to distract. So people are looking around a lot more. I find Colton to be a huge distraction. He has a new name every day that he wants to go after. The dangerous thing about him is that he's able to round up a few people to usually go with him. So Lisa is concerned about that. She mentions that she knows that her name is now also kind of front and center. She's one of the people being looked at, thanks to Colton. So next we have Steph, Johnny, Ron, and Natalie come in. No, Steven. I just put Steph. I'm not sure if that's Steven. Steven is one of the hunks. Remember, Michael, before he left, labeled Colton, Steven, and Rob the hunks. And he said one of the hunks is the traitor, has to be. He was right about that. But because of how he was, people were not really listening to him, ultimately leading to his banishment. And next we have Ron is in there. He said he's just happy to be there. We know Ron is on the chopping block every week, and that won't be untrue this week. He'll still be on the chopping block. Ron is saying, I'm always at risk. I'm just glad to be here. Michael said something stupid, and that got him out of here. I knew that would eventually happen. You know how Ron is. He's just shucks, matter of fact. Ron really got on my nerve from the first week, but he actually grew on me over the weeks especially with the way certain ones in the house were treating him. I don't like to see it. It's too reminiscent of a workplace environment. Sometimes they single out people. Could happen in friend groups. But when I see that, it's too real and I don't like it. Mama Bees, I feel sorry for Ron. Yeah, he had to grow on me. The Portia vote that was the first one of the first banishments. Let's see. Ian was the banishment and then Portia. So for them to still be harping on him when Colton has been wrong twice with Tiffany and then also Michael, Ron had to bring up that he also got out Michael. So this has just gone on too long. They're kind of piling on, and it is a lot. And he's not doing anything to anybody, so I don't like that. So they're still awaiting Dorinda, Eric, Jam Jam, and Colton. As they come in, they start counting everybody, looking around. All the chairs are filled. They realize that everyone has made it to breakfast. We get a flashback of the night before in the turret. We get Alan is in there saying the faithful resisted the need to get a shield, and the traitors are kind of disappointed. They wanted the chance to red rum somebody. So they're all talking openly. They think that Ron will be banished, but Colton needs to go. This is in the turret. Candace says, but if Colton keeps talking, if he keeps bringing up Lisa, it's going to be hard to get rid of him because then, of course, Lisa will be the main suspect and they'll suspect that she's a traitor. Now that Colton's gunning for him, I'm not giving Colton anything. The only reason Colton has landed on Lisa is because he just targets people. He's been wrong more often than not, and now he's just settled on Lisa. A broken clock is right twice a day, so I'm not giving it to Colton that he's some great strategist. He's not. He just happens to be right this time, in my opinion. So they're at breakfast. Alan's giving them clues as to what they're going to do that day. Lisa said, oh, sounds something like a coffin. I'm not sure. They've already done coffin. We know this is going to be the creepy cabin that is coming up for the challenge. And Candace says, oh, this might be an indoor mission. Everybody is laughing. Candace is little. She's probably cold out there. They're usually in coats and stuff, so I know it's cold. We get a confessional with Speak of the Devil, Colton. He's saying a gut feeling is telling me it's Lisa, and he wants to take a swing at her, but it will be hard because he took a swing at Tiffany, and now people don't really trust his judgment. He said he took a swing and missed, but he did not miss. That was the problem. He was wrong, and he didn't just miss. He was able to wrangle up a few more votes, enough to get her out of there, and then did the same thing with Michael. So Colton he's holding court in another room full of people. This man has not learned his lesson, but again, he said he's going to keep doing it. And then we see Ron and Rob are playing chess. I really enjoyed this scene. It was really sweet. They are talking. Excuse me, I thought I had that up. They're talking and playing chess and getting to know each other. So I like this scene because we see when the last episode, Dorinda was talking to Ron, they just show Ron like out of the blue, kind of cussing Dorinda out. That is not how it happened. I'll talk about that a little more, but that is not what happened at all. So these two are playing chess. They're laughing with each other. I love to see it. And then Rob is saying, well, did anyone say my name? Rob is like, no one. I haven't heard your name at all. And then Rob is saying, well, people think I'm just a dumb guy from Alabama. Rob, where did you get this accent? It just snuck up on me. I knew he was from Alabama because I think that Candace said, oh, Alabama Rob or Rob from Alabama, when they had two Robs. They had Rob C. from Survivor. They got him out of there. But I'm now hearing an accent I didn't hear before. But he says people think he's just dumb. So they're making assumptions about him, that he's tall, that he's good looking, he's quiet. So they're bonding. And then we get a confessional from Rob. He said, we're two introverts. I feel the same. I feel a little sorry for the way things are going for Rob in the house. Mama B's, Rob feels like us. He said, I feel sorry for the way things are going with Ron in the house. And we know it stemmed from that first vote. He wasn't the only one. He couldn't vote out Portia by himself. And Portia made a couple of gaffes. So somebody could use that as evidence against her. They did. And they still haven't forgiven Ron for that. So Ron is telling him that, I don't think that at all. I think you'd be a great traitor. I thought that Ron would get kind of suspicious of Rob. I don't know. Maybe they didn't show us enough, but they were just playing chess. They didn't really have eyes on each other. But he just said, I think you'll be a good traitor. You're smart. I can tell that you're a family man. He was just complimenting him. I noticed that about Ron, even though they isolate him and kind of ignore him. I think it's a little bit of bullying. He is always encouraging and kind of speaking life into people, even though they rarely do that to him. Somebody might compliment his sweater or something, but it's superficial stuff. When Eric was feeling really bad after, and to my mind, I'm going to say it, lying on Tiffany and giving Colton the evidence that he needed, Colton jumped up and ran out, even though he was the ringleader. And Ron was the one that had Eric by the shoulder, like, well, this is the name of the game. This is what happened. So Ron's kind of doing that with Rob, telling him, he doesn't assume that he's dumb. He thinks he's smart. He's a great representation of the South. And that made Rob feel good to hear that. So they're laughing together. I think this was sincere, and they were confiding in each other. And Ron says, well, no, he hadn't heard anybody mention his name. Next, we go back to the kitchen. There's a group in the kitchen. Colton is in there. Lisa is in there. A few other people. The drawing room. This is my favorite time during the castle because a lot of stuff happens, and you have to really pay attention to who's meeting, which questions they're asking, all that kind of stuff. So Johnny Weir is holding court. He says that the numbers have dwindled down enough in the castle where if he gets 8 faithful together, the faithfuls could control the vote at round table. So Johnny Weir does have a plan. We haven't heard a lot from him. We see the outfits and all this. We know he's best friends with Tara, who is a fellow figure skater, Olympian, and they kind of think it is under wraps. Of course, I know about it because I love Winter Olympics. I'm surprised nobody in the house has brought it up, but they think they're keeping a secret. So Johnny has a strategy, this group of 8 faithfuls that are going to control the round table. I didn't take all the names down, but as they're having a conversation, of course, Tara's there. That's his girl. Kristen walks by, and they were like, call her in. They call Kristen in. Kristen is the chef. So Kristen comes in. Let me see if I still got a picture of Kristen. Kristen comes in, and they I may be able to put it up sometime during. If not, that's okay. Kristen comes in, and they are able to start talking again, strategizing. Kristen has had her eye on Colton ever since the Tiffany vote, the Michael vote. She's looking at Colton like, Colton, you're doing a lot. And she's trying to get people to vote against Colton as well. So Kristen, after Tiffany left, Tiffany was my number 1 pick to win the whole thing and my hopes. But of course, she's gone. So now I got my eye on Kristen. I hope Kristen can do it. She is smart. We're going to have to watch her, though, because a couple of her votes to me are suspect. And then, actually, I won't be upset if a traitor wins, which is Candace. But for right now, I'm with Kristen. So she's still on Colton. She comes in the room. They start talking about him like a dog. All these things they're noticing about Colton. Colton's in the kitchen in this ugly denim. He thinks he's such a fashion plate. He looks ridiculous. This denim shirt with this, like a shirt jack with these cutouts on it. He's a mess. So he started picking at Lisa again. He's talking to Natalie. Natalie, you are turning into a real pick-me. I kind of like Natalie from Survivor, but she's done enough where I don't really care for Natalie. I have to keep watching her. So he disclosed, I have a name. This man will not stop dropping names with no evidence. His name is Lisa. And then he tells Natalie, well, it's a rule not to go. The housewives don't go against each other. That's an unspoken rule. The only reason it came to be is because people were literally housewife hunting. They knew that at least one of them, or they suspected that one of them would be a traitor just because of Phaedra's season. And there's not always one that's a traitor. They had all gamers last season. So I found that kind of ridiculous. I think they brought Gabby in, who's Batch Nation. But Colton and Natalie are talking. She says that Lisa is kind of on her radar too because of the Portia vote. Colton is telling us in a confessional, he knows he lost credibility with the 2 votes that didn't go correctly. So I guess he's rounding up the pick-me's. He's gone to Natalie. He's still got Eric in his pocket as far as I'm concerned. Eric is just a little bit embarrassed because he has a sense of shame about what he was instrumental in doing, sending Tiffany home. So Lisa comes in with Candace and Dorinda. They're minding their own business. They just stroll in the kitchen. That's a gathering place. Colton says, oh, look at the housewives sticking together. Lisa looks at him. Candace rolls her eyes. He doesn't really bother Candace. I think because Candace has a lot of people that like her, and Lisa's more like people like Lisa, but they don't know what to make of her. So I was shocked that I wasn't shocked that he said that, but he started picking at Lisa in front of everybody. He said, "You're not wearing your sunglasses today? I can look into your eyes." Lisa said, "What would you like to see?" He says, "My future." So he's insinuating right in front of her that she has some control over his future, as if she's a traitor, which she is. But Candace is too. She's standing right there. So they're all looking at to see what's going to happen. Lisa's going to let him live. She doesn't get into him too much right then. So Jam says he thinks that it's Ron. Jam has been so wrong, but he's still kind of comic relief for me, the way he gets so flustered and upset. And then the week when he was crying at the challenge. Lisa also claims that she thinks it's Ron. Lisa, you know Ron is not a traitor. He's a faithful because you're the traitor. So we have, they're going to take a car and go out to the next challenge. I thought it was funny. Colton came running out the door. I thought he was going to get shotgun. And Rob kind of called him out. He said, "Oh, look at Colton. You got to take the front seat because you're so big and strong." And Colton said, "No, I'm going to open the door for the ladies." No, he's not. During the challenge, I was looking at him. Mark had to call him back. And was like, we're a team. Colton was racing so far ahead of Renna and Candace. He has no home training, in my opinion. But Rob called him out. He opened the door. All of them pile into the car. Their car was Colton, Rob, Tara, and Dorinda. Colton turns right around and starts talking gameplay again. "I trust this car. I want everybody to know I'm going with Ron tonight, but I have Lisa in my sights." Dorinda jumps right in. "Oh, yeah, you've been thinking that it's Lisa." So he says, "I just want everybody to know I'm Ron tonight, but if I don't make it to breakfast, it's Lisa." So the next car is Johnny, Candace, excuse me. They're saying, if you see a cabin, run. It's a creepy cabin. They get in the cabin. There are graves outside. They get inside. The table is set up like a Ouija board. Excuse me. I have my water, but it's dry. I turned the heat on. So they get to the table. It's a Ouija board. It starts spelling out letters. We find out that they have to spell names and then look for the names on the grave. So 2 players will run outside and solve the clue. So they have to jump up and run. Ron is like, "Ooh, Alan, this cabin is disgusting." And it did look scary and dirty and just a mess. So it spells out some names. They think it is Louise Clark because you know how Ouija board does the letters? So it spells it out in like dust on the table. And they say Louise Clark, but Candace and Tara are first. They're so scared. They jump up and just run out. Eric was like, they were the 2 that were the most afraid to be here, so we just chose them first. I didn't hear them pick them. They just jumped up and ran out. And they said, "Louise Clark?" So that was the name that they had. It ended up being Louise Black. So Jam was actually the one that said Clark. He was wrong. As you come in, click the like button. Welcome into Sandra P's Gen Extra. Hello, Low Tempo Life. Good to see you. Little late cooking, but listening. Okay, I hope you are staying warm and cooking some comfort food. I have to throw something in my crock pot. I don't know what it'll be, beans or something. So Natalie is on her Survivor thing. Again, Natalie is talking about, what are we going to do about the shields? We could just say if anybody takes a shield, they're going to be up for banishment. I don't know why Natalie is so negative toward the shields. I mean, the shield does cause somebody to have to come before the traitors, and they could be red rum. But Natalie is looking at the shields like it's a Survivor type thing. And I don't like how they started that in Survivor, where they don't want anybody alone. If someone's out looking for an idol, they try to vote the person out. So Natalie's bringing that mindset into this. So sometimes the gamers get on my nerves when they bring that type mentality over here. But they didn't really agree to it. That's just the way it shook out because Natalie mentioned that. So Eric is coaching them. No, stop screaming, stop screaming. Everybody is screaming. The next clue is covered in blood on the wall. It's really creepy. Dorinda was screaming at the top of her lungs. She looked really terrified. And then the other good thing about it, though, when they ran out and solved the clue, Candace and Tara didn't get the money because they had the wrong name, which gave the wrong date of death on the tombstone. But when they run out, they get to return to the castle. They don't have to go back into creepy cabin. So the next 2 run out. They follow the steps to the graveyard. They end up getting the clue. As a matter of fact, everybody else got the clue. So they accumulated, I think it was $15,000. They got 5 out of 6. Maybe it was 17,000. They got 5 out of 6, and it was $3,000 per clue. So they got 15,000 out of 18 allowed. So next, I thought it was funny. Eric Nam, he's young, but he referred to it as the Blair Witch Project. He's just kind of like the Blair Witch Project. I knew exactly what he meant, but I didn't know that younger people even knew about that movie. That's been some time ago. So now we're back at the castle. One of the clues was a typewriter clue as well. So it was, I like the way they come up with the different games, but that would be my least favorite. They get back to the castle. They're surrounded in the kitchen again. They're all talking to each other. Colton tells Lisa, I need to pull you to a side and talk to you again. He is tracking Lisa again. Colton is so creepy. I don't know how he thinks he came across, but he came across as a real creep. I don't like it. We all know about his stalking background. I'm hearing that they're not supposed to bring it up or something, or maybe the people in the castle don't even know. But I hate the fact that Peacock even gave him a chance to come over here and get on my screen. I don't like him. I don't like him at all. So he pulls Lisa aside. He wants to talk to her. He takes her into the drawing room. I didn't like how he was following her down the hallway. So she sits down, kind of like, what's up? What's up? So they sit down and Colton says, I want to kind of give you a proposition. She's like, what's going on? He said, I think you're a traitor. She's like, he said, if I take care of you in the boardroom at the round table, you take care of me in the turret. She said, I'm a faithful. Lisa, I don't know. She looked kind of guilty, but I think Colton he's throwing anything up against the wall to see what sticks. She didn't take him up on it. She just kept saying, I'm a faithful. And his proposition didn't make sense because the way the game is laid out, if any traitors are left at the end of the game, they take all the money. So a traitor really couldn't play a game with the faithful. Eventually, they're going to come up against each other, and only one of them is going to be able to win. Only one from that group anyway. So this was kind of stupid. So confessional, Lisa is complaining. She said he thinks he knows the game. He thinks he's cool. He thinks he's got me, but he doesn't, and he doesn't. Lisa Rinna she knows what's going on. So next, they show all these little different groups around the house. It's time for the round table. This episode seemed kind of short because I'm used to watching 2. And I think they even dropped 3 the first week because we're up to number 6. So we only get this one episode, everybody. Ron is the first one in line. He's kind of like marching to the round table. He's ready. Kind of like when it was Michael's turn and he knew he was up. He was almost running to the round table. But we got Ron. Ron is resolved. He says, my mind is on my sons. I want them to know I didn't beg. I didn't lie. I played with honor. And Ron really grew on me. I do like Ron. I like the way he carried himself as they continued to kind of, to me, pile onto him, isolate him, bully him. Some things have come out after, and this is a shorter review because it's only one episode, so I'll share it with you after the end, after I kind of wrap this up. So Johnny is worried. He said, I'm kind of worried because I really only have one shot at Colton. When he was in the meeting earlier with the Johnny 8, or what he was trying to make the Faithful 8, he'd included 2 traitors, which he said Rob and Candace. Now, Candace wasn't even in there. She was in the kitchen, but he said, I want to include Candace. So I know Candace's name is not really under any suspicion, but Mark is very wishy-washy, as well as Stephen was the other person that was in there. Mark is still kind of thinking about Ron. Ron has been on his mind since the beginning, especially since the Portia vote. But the thing is, a lot of them voted with Ron for the Portia vote. So Johnny's saying with this one shot at Colton, if he doesn't get him out this week, if they don't banish Colton, he could be targeted. And Johnny's right about that because Colton is very vindictive. He goes after people for any or no reason. And this would be a reason. If Johnny is the one getting together this 8, but if they're not successful, Colton's going to have Johnny in his sights. So they get into the room where the boardroom where the round table is, and Alan is giving his little speech. Who can smile in your face and stab you in the back? Who are the traitors? So everybody is staring. Nobody wants to start. Ron already knows what it is. He's holding his chalk, which I found really funny. So Ron's holding his chalk like, I'm ready. So he said, does anybody have anything? Anyone? Nobody says anything. And then Ron says, we got to use the time. Nobody still says anything. And so Mark Ballas from Dancing with the Stars, he got on my nerves, y'all. He's got this little, he looks like one of those little Portuguese water dogs. His little hair is just round up in the top, a ponytail in the top, and then he's got the sides hanging down. But he says, I'd like to jump in. So Mark doesn't really talk too much at the round tables, but he feeling bold. For the past couple of weeks, couple of days, Ron's been taking a beating at every round table, and we just want to find out more, Ron. We can, whether or not you are a faithful. When you commit, and you get people to follow you, including myself. Like when the Porsche vote, so they still bringing up this Porsche vote, and he says you're able to sway votes. He said with the Tiffany vote, that was led by Colton. The camera, I was happy. It went to Colton, and Colton's eyes jumped out of his head like, oh, we're blaming me for the Tiffany vote. Yeah, Colton, we're blaming you for the Tiffany vote. Colton was the first one to float her name and eventually responsible for her banishment. So he said that was a big swing and a big miss. Again, that was not a miss. They got that lady out, and she was not a traitor. She was faithful. So he says, I'm willing to hear the reasons why you should remain, or if you'll be banished. If anybody else has anything, let's have it. So Ron says, we've all made mistakes. No one has been right every time. Yet I'm the one in a position to defend myself every week. He said, I've been very consistent with everything I said. If I like you, I like you. Dorinda jumps in and interrupts him. It's not about liking anybody or not liking anybody. We all have to contribute into each other, or it doesn't work. Dorinda, mind your business. And this is why Ron cussed her out. Dorinda's one of them people that, to me, her line of questioning, she's intrusive. That is not how you get to know someone, especially Ron is an introvert. I'm an introvert myself, but actually I'm an introvert that likes people. But when you approach someone and you are intrusive and asking personal questions, I don't appreciate that. I don't think Ron did either. That's why he told her, I don't give a F about your family, and my family's none of your effing business. But then I'll show you something where it shows that Dorinda actually had been provoking Ron, and possibly some things were said to antagonize Ron. So that is what we saw, and production didn't show the whole thing. She cut him off while he was talking, even though Mark gave him the floor, and his name's really the only one ringing bells aside from Lisa and now Colton's, which he brought on himself. But he's speaking, Dorinda cuts him off. So she says that that's the rules of engagement, which I didn't like that. Who are you to set the rules of engagement, Dorinda? This is an adult man with sons. He has children. And he said at one point, I'm happy to get back to my sons and my girlfriend. So he said, we're not going to do all that. If we're having a conversation, it doesn't make it helpful. And then Ron says, I disagree 100%. If I feel our dialogue can no longer be respectful, meaning I don't want to curse you out again, lady. He said if he doesn't believe their dialogue can be respectful any longer, he's not going to continue talking to her. So Dorinda's kind of rolling her eyes and looking crazy. Colton feels like it's time for him to weigh in. Now, if I was Colton, I would have just been quiet, but he loves being on TV. He's very aware of the cameras and how he's looking. He had the nerve to poke his head up on Threads today. They chased him out of there so fast. They already chased him off Twitter. They asked him, he asked him, what's going on? How's everybody doing? He's on there as Colton Underwood. The way then people started talking about stalking and restraining orders and stuff. Colton. So Colton weighed in. He said, I like you a lot, but we can learn more from the banishment than you staying here at this point, even though he has a worse track record than Ron. And so Ron brings that up. Ron said, do you feel the need to do it? Because you got it wrong more than me. He said, we don't like Michael, so we don't count it, but we love Portia, and so we're still on me. Colton started bugging his eyes, looking crazy at Ron. And Ron says, I don't think that's fair. Do you have any other questions? Of course, when a man steps to Colton, he doesn't have any other questions. Like when Michael shut him up, he had no other question. So Colton's looking like a deer in headlights, very weak. And Kristen says, I love Kristen getting involved on Ron's behalf. She said, if we're going to continue to hold Ron accountable, for swinging the vote to Portia, I'm going to hold you accountable for swinging the vote to Tiffany. And then Johnny Weir steps up. Come on, Johnny Weir. Johnny Weir is dressed like a auntie at a board meeting. He has this beret on and it's embellished with and bedazzled, and he's in all black with the sheer sleeves. He said, Michael was throwing names out, and Colton now is throwing names out, and he gets other people to follow him and makes me feel like a puppet. Eric spoke up and says, yeah, the Tiffany vote and her name coming out and then everybody voting, it was just all so quick. That made me jump in. No, Eric. Eric now, I'm going to call Eric now. And that's BS Eric. That is bull. Eric came in and said, I have a secret, something that I heard, but I'm not going to put it out there. So it's not that Colton kind of led him astray. He was looking for an opportunity to vote how he voted. Welcome in, Sharon Gabo. Thank you so much for coming in during the live. Thank you. Hello, Sandra Peach and Extra in chat. I'm late, but I watched the replay. Thank you so much. And I was explaining also, it's just one episode, so it's not a super long review. I'll have some extras toward the end that's related to this week's episode. But we are already at the round table, and Colton has piped up and jumped in something that he should have stayed out of. And now Kristen has just put him in his place. Eric has spoken up. And then Mara says, he's dangerous, and if he's a traitor, people listen to him. So even Mara is talking about Colton. And this kind of confused me, y'all. I really didn't know which way this vote was going because they started out on Ron, as they always do, but now they kind of focus on Colton. So Colton says, I'm playing reckless and bold. I'm not a traitor. Rob says, I believe you. I was looking at Rob sideways. I like Rob. I like all three of the traitors in their roles here. But I'm looking at Rob sideways. He said, I believe you. Jam Jam says, well, Donna was a traitor and Ron protected her. And so that is what made me think that you are a traitor too. Jam Jam, this makes no sense. Donna was a secret traitor. Ron did not know that. When y'all caught Donna, to me, that was just like matter of fact. That wasn't that they really had that lady in their sights. Matter of fact, I think Candace brought it up, Mara, and then Natalie, and then Colton, because he's bold and it was an older lady, he jumped on the bandwagon. But I don't feel like Colton caught her. That was just by chance. So Ron says, oh, this is before he went in, I'm sorry. He said that the round table is his chance to shine. So he's never really afraid at the round table. And then Mark did compliment him on that. He said, you are able to give your opinion, you're clear, and then you sway votes. So Ron's like, thank you. Ron says, I want a chance to just go around the table and tell everybody what you mean to me. Because if I want to be a real faithful, I want to give you guys the opportunity to write my name on there. Remember, he came in with his chalk perched. He was ready. And so now he's ready for them to just do it. So he flipped the script on them. And I love that he did this. This is a powerful lesson. So everybody's kind of shocked. But Ron kind of took his power back instead of sitting there like, oh, please keep me, please keep me. He said he wants to prove to his sons he doesn't beg, he doesn't lie. He states his case, and you can take it or not. So I really appreciated Ron doing this. And the people at the table, they are shocked. Their mouths are hanging open. So I love it. And it was a lesson. It really was. He said, you can't kill me. I offer myself up. So he started giving everybody, just telling everybody something positive about themselves, except Dorinda, which I love. He can't stand Dorinda. And I'll tell y'all more about that. So he says, Tara, I love you. You're great. He said, Johnny, you are a legend, man. Colton, you're a good guy. Eric, you're good. So he was telling everybody, Rob, you're my friend. He didn't say anything to Dorinda. Candace, I appreciate your consistency. He gave something good to everybody. Tara said, I don't think he is a traitor. Natalie was whispering to Rob, I don't think he's a traitor. Rob said, me either. They were literally whispering while Rob was complimenting everybody except Dorinda. So Tara said, may I speak? This is, of course, she didn't interrupt him. She said, may I speak? Because Ron was ready to vote at that point. So this gold medalist, blonde, Wheaties boxed the whole thing. And Tara doesn't do a lot of talking. Johnny doesn't do a lot of talking. We know they're a pair, but they haven't really said anything. She said, this may get me murdered, but I just want to say, I don't think Ron is a traitor. It's not Ron. And then Rob said, me either. And then around the table, they started going, me either, me either. Colton's eyes was bugging out of his head. He starts glitching and twitching and blinking and looking. And then Natalie said, well, how do we find out? And Eric Nam picked it up. How we find out in a constructive way? You know, how do they find out by not voting out another traitor? I mean, voting out another faithful when they're looking for a traitor. So this part was really starting to get interesting. So Colton seizes the opportunity. I told you he's over there going crazy. If we're looking for a name to move off Ron, I'm going to come out and say it. Remember, I told you he met with Lisa Rinna in the drawing room and offered his help to her. She helped him in the turret. He would help her in the boardroom, which made no sense. But she kept telling him that she's a faithful. I'm a faithful. I'm a faithful. So he said, I'm going to come out now and say it. Lisa's just looking at him. They're sitting next to each other, which is really funny. He said, I believe you're a traitor, to Lisa. And I said, Lisa, you should have outed him first. And that would have made him look like a traitor. He said, I believe you're a traitor. She said, but I'm not. I'm a faithful. I believe you're a traitor. That's really Lisa's only defense for when she's accused. I believe you're a traitor. So they're doing that. And then Natalie weighs in. I started to believe you were a traitor because the most powerful thing is that when you voted for Portia, generally housewives don't vote out, housewives don't target housewives. I don't know where they got this from. It used to be like that, but I mean, now, of course, everything is out the window. Traitors have targeted other traitors before. People from the same group have targeted other people. Natalie's claiming, I would never target a survivor on the first night. And Lisa's saying, but you did. All of you voted for Portia too. And Lisa is right there. So Colton lies. That was the biggest one for me, the Portia vote. So Lisa counters, again, you did it too. And he says, you are a housewife. You're supposed to be quiet and sheepish. And she said, again, he's stereotyping people on how they should act. She says, no, I'm me. I'm a housewife, but I'm much more than that. That's not all I am. And I've already told you, I'm not a traitor. I'm a faithful. I'm a faithful. She said, I'm not going to dance on the table. I'm not going to throw a wine glass. I'm not going to perform for you. Colton does want people to perform for him. I think he's used to that. Colton says, if you're going to come for me, but not this way that you're doing it. So he's trying to dictate her game. Y'all, he got on my nerves so bad. They go back and forth a little bit more. Rob was having an extremely difficult time deciding who to vote for. We get a confessional with Rob, and he was saying, I like Ron. Of course, I know he's not a traitor. I like Ron. I don't want to vote him out. Colton is very valuable to me in this game. This is the second time when I side-eyed Rob. Why is Colton, as a faithful, valuable to him in this game? Again, remember, they can't officially work together because if there are any traitors left at the end, even one, they're going to take the money. So I don't know where this is coming from. I think some conversations have been had, or it could just be just a matter of, I don't know, white manning. I hope that's not what it is, Rob, because I haven't seen that in Rob. I do see it in Colton because of who Colton targets. So I don't know. Rob is having a difficult time. Colton's valuable to him. Alan is lurking in his bedazzled kilt, and he says, okay, I'm going to lock the votes. Tara, you are first. Tara rolled her eyes like, of course I'd have to be first. This is a difficult vote for her because she does like Ron as well. So Tara says, I'm going for Colton. And she went with Ron's evidence, that how Ron laid out that he's just giving evidence like anybody else. That doesn't make him a traitor. So she voted for Colton. Stephen voted for Ron again. Now remember, Stephen is one of the Johnny 8. So Johnny didn't have his crew of faithfuls locked down. And then remember, 2 of them were traitors, which was Candace and Rob. So y'all, this is terrible. I feel a little bit sorry for Johnny, but he was trying to strategize. His mind is in the right place. Stephen voted Ron again. Ron says he's voting for Lisa due to the housewife anomaly, the fact that they hadn't in the past voted for each other. So Ron, I wish Ron had voted for Colton, but Ron doesn't do like a vote for a vote. That's another thing I respect. He doesn't just say, oh, you vote for me? I vote for you. He votes based on what he really feels. So he does suspect Lisa being a traitor now. He voted for Lisa. Marta voted for Ron. That surprised me. I thought she was in the Johnny 8. Lisa said, I'm voting for Colton because I think he's a traitor. Period. Get him, Lisa. Lisa knows he's not a traitor. She's just mad. So Colton says, Lisa, oh, we finally got the real one. We finally got the real Lisa. After a couple of days, Colton again, you don't know this lady. He claimed he never saw Housewives. I think he's studied them. I think he has studied everyone on the show. So Eric Nam voted for Lisa. Now, Eric, I thought Eric was going to do better. He's still over here in Colton's pocket. Candace voted for Ron. Ron said, thank you for your consistency. I found that funny. So he's not even mad at Candace. Candace lets him know, look, I think it's you. I'm upset about what happened with Portia. I'm voting for you every week, even though she knows he's not a traitor. He can't be because she is. Johnny voted for Colton. Kristen voted for Colton. Here's a little bit of the Johnny 8 trying to stick together. Jim voted for Ron and then apologized. Jim, you getting on my nerves. Stand up in it. Keep that apology. I don't like that. Dorinda voted for Ron. Of course, Ron can't stand Dorinda. And Rob is looking sick. Natalie votes Lisa. She says, this new stuff coming out about Lisa is right under our eyes. It's under your nose, dummy, under our nose. I don't like Natalie anymore, y'all. And it changed just that quick. So Alan says, Ron, you have 5 votes. Lisa, 4 votes. Colton, 4 votes. Who is the traitor? He gives Mark the deciding vote. And Mark says, coming in with information, data with a stupid little ponytail bob on the top of his head. And I want to hear everybody, I voted for yourself. So then we get this little cliffhanger. And he says, I voted for yourself, Ron. So Colton is smirking that it's not him. That was enough for Ron to be sent home. Alan says, Ron, take the circle of truth. Ron gets up and gets into the circle of truth. And the cameraman is really focusing in. This is another really hard banishment. He gets into the circle of truth. He said, it's hard to trust people. And I wasn't trusted. I understand that in a world that is completely fake, it is hard to recognize someone that is real. Inside the game and outside the game, I am a faithful. And the table's like, oh. Y'all, they did it again. They voted out another faithful. And I don't know. Tell me what y'all think. But Alan seemed a little, I mean, he has no dog in the fight, but he says, as I read the room, I'm reading melancholy and dejection. And he says that he's going to host a ball for them. And he said, you keep voting out faithfuls. You're not able to get another traitor and all this kind of stuff. So, y'all, this was a mess. Welcome in, Church 612, one of my moderators, my sisters. Good to see you. Thank you. Colton is a shield for Rob. That makes sense because Low Tempo Life, I'm like, what is going on here? What's the attraction? I don't get it. But yeah, and then, he is a shield because Colton is relishing his role as villain and Rob is more, he's a traitor and he's acting like a traitor. So we can't be mad for him voting Lisa. Honestly, traitors in the past have turned on each other quicker than this. So I could see him keeping Colton around because as long as Colton's there, especially without Michael to have everybody distracting and talking about, I see that. That makes sense, Low Tempo Life. So, y'all, this is still going on. They go back in the kitchen. Colton is antagonizing and he's provoking Lisa. He's at the table. They weren't in the kitchen yet. He said, I'll take both of us down to get you out. They were still sitting at the round table. Candace is looking dagger. She's looking at him like, yeah, keep playing. Colton hasn't targeted Candace yet. I'm a little surprised because I want rat-a-tat-tat Candace. I actually wanted Kenya on this season, but I'll take Candace. Natalie goes, when Colton said that to her. And Lisa said, now Lisa is wearing a oversized bubble black leather jacket. And she's got on her nameplate chain that says Renna. So you know you bad. It doesn't say Lisa, it says Renna. She got her last name on her chain. She says, okay. She said, go ahead, Colton. You want to see a housewife? I'll come out. You want to see a housewife? I'll come out. And Colton was like, finally, after 3 days in. So he's still provoking Lisa. They go in the kitchen. Rob is in the confessional saying, I would want to be a faithful because I like Ron. I didn't want to vote him out. I like Colton. I don't want to vote him out. Now, Low Tempo Life's theory is that with Colton, he's probably a shield. I don't know all this about liking him. Colton gets on my nerve. The smirk alone, I want to slap him. And I don't have that reaction to a lot of people. But Rob is in the confessional. I think he is really distraught about the Ron vote because we did see them bond. And then he says it's about to be bad for Robbie Bobby. That's what he calls himself, like his country name. So I found that really funny. Dorinda walks up to Lisa and Candace. They're getting a walk into the kitchen. And she says, well, what do you think? Lisa said, I need a drink. Lisa is mad. Lisa had to hold her tongue from Colton. So Natalie's backpedaling when they came in the kitchen. Lisa, do you understand how it resonated for me? Why was she dressed like a figure skater? She's really cut. She's in shape, but I don't like what she had on. She's got this figure skater thing on, these ugly sandals. Natalie, shut up. You understand how it resonated for me because of the Portia vote? And because I wouldn't vote for a survivor. Now, she already said this at the round table. Lisa said, no, I don't understand how it resonates. Lisa's just trying to drink her beer. She's not bothering anybody. She said, you cannot label a person that they have to be this. And Candace is saying, we're going to have to start taking what Colton says with a large grain of salt. And Colton is like a roach. If you say his name, here he comes. So when she said, let's start taking what Colton says with a large grain of salt, here comes Colton into the kitchen. He's still circling Lisa. Y'all, this man is menacing. I believe every bit of those stalking charges. I do. I don't care if the lady withdrew them. I think they had some type of private agreement. So he's start picking at Lisa again. So Lisa's looking at him. She said, I'm going to say one thing to Colton. I've been in this business for 36 years. And he says, you're a legend. You're a legend and you're so confident. That's why I'm just surprised that you're being meek and I'm not seeing the real Lisa. He said, I expected to see. She said, there's the word I was looking for. Expecting. She said, don't expect something of somebody. She said, I was Lisa effing Rinna before I got here. And I'm going to be Lisa effing Rinna when I leave. In the kitchen, we're looking at her like, woo, and looking at Colton. She went light on you, Colton. She went very light on Colton. And then he starts glitching and spinning and you know how he does, looking all stupid because Lisa popped off on him. Now she let him slide a little bit. She could have did a lot worse, as we know. Colton threatens everybody. He said, this is to the traitors. I'm going after every shield. If you don't vote me out, did he say vote me out or murder? If you don't get me out, it's going to be hard. If you don't get me out, I'm going after every shield and you're not going to be able to get me out. Now, Johnny had told the Johnny 8 earlier in the night, Colton is the most dangerous between Ron and Colton because Colton causes chaos. You never know what name he's going to come up with. And then he has his little minions in his pocket that he can convince to vote with him. So Johnny warned everyone, but he couldn't keep the Johnny 8 coalition together. So now, y'all, this is about to be a mess. And I was really looking forward to the next episode. But as I said, they're only doing one episode. So they are going to get ready for this ball that he's throwing. The traders are, not just the traders, but everybody's going upstairs to their room. And Lisa's going upstairs. Candace is walking upstairs. Lisa's joking because now Colton's on this housewives thing. They have to act a certain way. She says, housewives coming. Housewives are coming. Candace said, drama, drama, drama. So they're strutting up the steps. Johnny asked her, what are you going to wear to the ball tonight? Lisa said, oh, honey, you're not even ready. Johnny said, I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to this ball. This is going to be a trip. Oh, I forgot. I don't know why I had this all the way down here, y'all. The 3 traders, Rob, Candace, and Lisa, they had a second where they were all in the kitchen together. After Rob did his confessional, he was like, Robbie Bobby's in trouble. And he went in the kitchen. Lisa said, get in here. And they start fussing him out real quick. He was talking a mile a minute. I'm sorry. It just would have looked suspicious if I had voted out Ron or Colton and everybody knows that they were 2 people that trusted me and I trust them. He was just yakking. And Candace was like, I don't even know if this is going to work now. How are we going to do this? Candace was eating a cookie and Rob said something stupid and Candace launched her cookie right at him. So I thought that was funny. And Candace did a confessional. I don't know what we're going to do now. We can't really go at Colton like we want to because Colton has threatened Lisa all over the house, in every room, in the car, told everybody he's gunning for her, did it at the round table. So if there is a red rum committed and it's Colton, it's going to look like it was Lisa. And Lisa said, I want to slit his throat. So Lisa's ready to get him. She's tired of Colton. So we get the three of them at the turret. Lisa says, Colton has to go, but the heat will be on me. I feel like they could still get him if they're allowed to do a murder, because some people might think that Lisa's being framed. But I don't know. Lisa got a few votes. She got 4 votes. So there are people that do think she's a traitor. And it's kind of hard to put the genie back in the bottle, like with Phaedra. Once Dan floated Phaedra's name, and he was a fellow traitor. Once Dan did that to her, and then Rob, of course, voting for Lisa, I don't know what's going to happen. So they're up there. Alan comes in a fedora and a black cape, telling them at the ball they are going to do a murder in plain sight. Now, as they were still sitting at the round table, they were like, what's this ball going to be? When Alan was claiming that he's trying to cheer them up, they were like, this is some kind of catch. I heard Johnny say, he said, don't nobody eat or drink at that ball. So we know something's going to happen. So he told them the traitors are going to have to do a murder in plain sight. He shows them this amulet. It was a piece of jewelry. It looked like garnet, a piece of jewelry. And they were like, oh, he says, one of you has to wear this. And the first person that touches it, immediately, that is their death. They're out of the game. It's based on something that happened in real life. I'm not sure. I can't remember the story that he was talking about, but I don't know. I'm curious to see who's going to touch it. Lisa, of course, says, oh, this would make perfect sense. Either her or Candace would have to wear it. She said, Rob, it wouldn't make sense for you to wear it. And because you don't know, he might show up in a pair of overalls with no shirt. So Lisa is going to wear the amulet. I don't know. Dorinda being her friend, she might sidle up to her and touch it, and I wouldn't care. I think they should have sent her home first. Colton being as bold as he is and a stalker and giving people attention that don't want it, he could very well go up to Lisa and touch her or touch a piece of her jewelry. I could see that. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. This is going to be really good. But again, that was the end of that episode. Now, Johnny knows not to touch anything. So I don't, even though he was curious about Lisa's outfit, she said, you're not even ready. I don't think Johnny would touch her. Thank you, Mama Bees. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and share the live to keep the channel and the algorithm. Thank you so much. So y'all, that was the end of the episode, but we actually had quite a few Sandra P's Gen extras as it relates to the traders. Okay, I don't know if everyone has heard. Rob said that after his performance and the way he was treated on this show on the traders, he said he felt that he wanted to get tested. I think somebody might have suggested it to him, tested for autism, and it looks like he may be at somewhere on the spectrum. So he said he does appreciate the fact that he is able to find that out about himself from research about this because of this show. So I found that really interesting. I think Ron's performance at the round table was amazing. I think he really just shined a light on them. And I love the fact he held a mirror up to them. And you can't treat people any way you want to treat them just because they're not a person like you. Because I loved his interaction with Rob when they were sitting there and they were playing chess. I just found that really sweet. Okay, let me see if I can find. All right, this is one of the scenes. Oh, okay, here's one.
I think I'm just a dumb guy from Alabama.
I mentioned it, but this is not a scene.
If you were a trader, you would be so good at it. Because you're so good at thinking steps ahead. I know you're just being yourself, but just talking with you, knowing how much you care for your family, you're such a good representation of what the South is really about. I appreciate that, man. That warms my heart, truly. I do feel bad about Ron's position in this game. I genuinely like him. Ron is an introvert, and I feel where he's coming from. I was always the odd man out growing up. Quiet, did my own thing, kind of kept to myself. And it can be lonely. I mean, sometimes the loneliest place for someone like that is in a crowded room. Ron. Why did you do that?
That's their scene. I love the fact that they were able to kind of get to know each other a little bit. They seem like they're very different, but they were able to connect on that level. So the way Dorinda was trying to do it, well, come in here, sit down, tell me about your family, tell me about yourself. And Rob Ron ends up cussing her out. I didn't blame him for that at all. Now, there was another thing that happened today. Ron. Okay, this was Ron. I copied this off of Threads. I want to show you how it looked, and then I'll read it to you. That's me in my trader's cloak. All right. So this is Ron's thread. Somebody had made a comment. It said, Dorinda's comments about Ron Funch plays the game hits harder now knowing that Ron has autism. Said it's kind of an example of how unconscious biases, and then I've cut off the lady's thread. I'm sorry, I didn't see everything what she says. Ron answered the lady's thread. He said, oh, she has a conscious bias. He's talking about Dorinda. She said some truly terrible things to me, but since they were deeply personal and outside of gameplay, they were never shown. Just me blowing up at her out of nowhere. So I can't wait for this reunion, y'all. I want to know what Dorinda said to Ron. Now, y'all, welcome in, Cece. Thank you so much for coming in during the live. She came in speaking to everyone. This is episode 6, Cece. It's only one, so it was pretty short. And then I just did a few extras. This is the one Ron is responding to someone on Threads that was saying Dorinda has unconscious bias. So I'll read it again. He said, oh, she has a conscious bias. She said some truly terrible things to me, but since they were deeply personal and outside of gameplay, they were never shown. Just me blowing up at her out of nowhere. So Dorinda, what did you say to Ron? We know her to be a drunkard, allegedly, and in my opinion, I think that's why she was paused from Bravo. This is probably her redemption arc as well. I want them to stop recycling these people that have no business back over here. Colton should not even be on House of Villains. This man is a danger and a menace. Low Tempo Life says, Ron is totally different from the character he plays on Loot. That's an Apple TV show. I have to watch that, Low Tempo Life. I heard it's really good. He should have played that character, in my opinion. He said he came in trying to be himself. And I think he is a mild-mannered, not really bothering anyone unless you come for him or bother him. And then even I think what he said to Dorinda wasn't egregious because his family is none of her effing business. He knows she's not interested. So I don't blame him for talking to her like that. So I want to see what Dorinda actually said to Ron, did to Ron, and I'm on his side. I don't mind him cussing her out. And then I thought it was really funny the way she cut him off, and he still was able to finish his point. I love that. So let me see if hopefully I had one more thread that I had saved. And a lot of people are actually on Ron's side. So Colton's getting dragged. Like I said, the second he sticks his head over there, they start dragging him. So he can't really come out and say anything. Okay. So Ron, let's see. Ron is actually answering people back on Threads. He's defending himself. Because one person called him sour. I don't think that he was sour. I didn't mind him saying what he said to Dorinda. I really don't at all. Okay, I cannot find. I thought I had one more thread. That was Ron and Rob. If I don't find it, that is okay. I may do a separate extra on it. Let me see if it was here. Oh, and actually, I took a nap today because I want to stay up late enough to attend. Queen Sheba's doing a live on traders, but we know she'll do a lot of the psychological aspect of it. But yeah, this was really triggering to watch as far as the way they treated and isolated him. I didn't like that at all. Oh, I did see this. I saved this. I wanted to show this. This is what's behind me. Let me go down. One moment. Okay, not down, to the side. They are casting traders. You know how this is celebrity focused? They're doing a brand new season for NBC. This time you don't have to be a celebrity to play. Says we're looking for smart, clever, strategic, everyday people to compete in the ultimate game of trust and treachery. Are you a faithful or are you a traitor? So you can apply at thetradersus.com. just have to be 21 and hold a valid passport. And then, of course, terms and conditions apply. Looks to me like they're pretty lax. If they let somebody on there who's a whole stalker, this is a mess. So I am looking forward to this one. I watch Traders UK as well, and I do like when they do the regular working class people and have on there. I really love that. So that was it. Ron has been all day just defending himself. Oh, here's the kitchen scene. This is what I was looking for.
It looks bad.
Wait a minute. Let me
What
go
you
back.
did, you were one vote
Oh, wait.
off.
Let me go down.
Putting our shit on blast.
This game doesn't end tomorrow, and it doesn't end the next day, and it doesn't end the day after that. It's longevity.
Johnny almost caught him.
Turned on two people that
Unless it's edited.
I trusted. Would be suspicious.
That's when she threw the cookie at him. Lisa's mad as hell too. I don't know, y'all. Candace says that she's gonna curse somebody out like a dog at the reunion, and she said it recently. So I'm curious to see. Everybody assumed it was Portia. Candace was not at the panel for Traders. Portia was there, and that was a question that an audience member asked. What did you do to Candace? Why is she gonna curse you out? We thought that Portia was lying. She started laughing. I didn't do nothing. I thought we were good. So I thought Portia was lying. I don't know. She might have been telling the truth. I don't think that there is beef or anything between her and Portia. I know Candace unfollowed her, but you never know what Candace is thinking. So this is a mess. And oh, okay. I read that already about the character that he plays on Luke. I'm gonna have to watch that. We're right at an hour, everybody. I think that is a pretty good stopping point. Thank you so much for joining Sandra P's Gen Extra for my Traders recap, rant, review of episode 6. And again, we're going to have to wait another week because I think it'll be every Wednesday now. They'll be dropping one episode. So this was a really good, another touching roundtable and circle of truth. I was watching Ron. He was on Bob the Drag Queen and Boston Rob's official podcast. It's on Peacock. Actually, it's also on YouTube. He said he was ready to go. He was ready to go home to his girlfriend, to his sons, and he was happy to get out of there. So I'm happy that he was too. I wanted him. He said he wanted to win the money, of course, but it wasn't worth like what you go through. He said when he watched it and he saw Deontay Wilder crying and wanting to leave, and I think he did end up quitting. I remember he talked to Phaedra, and Phaedra tried to convince him, and he was just like, no. He voted out of Faithful and felt terrible about it. But then this year, we got these people voting out of Faithful proudly and then isolating somebody because he did the same thing with actual evidence. But everybody, thank you so much for joining me during this live. I appreciate it. I will be here next week as well with that. I'm still working on my Salt Lake City. I have to do Salt Lake City reunions. I didn't even do the finale, y'all. Cynthia Christensen, thank you so much for coming in during the live. It is good to see you. This was Traders episode 6. Everyone speaking to each other. Everyone stay safe. Have a great weekend, everyone, and be safe if you're in the path of the storm. Yes, Mama Bees, I was talking about that earlier. I have to throw something in the crock pot. My main concern is that very few people lose power. That is where it's scary. Cece says, have a blessed weekend, everyone. Later, Low Tempo Life, I'll see you in the YouTube streets. So we know there'll be another Traders Live over on Queen Sheba. I'll double check the time. I had my nap, so I'll be ready. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the YouTube streets. Good night. I think I still have the out stream of the babies. I'm going to change it to something else. But if you want to stay and watch that, you're welcome to. It's pretty fun.
I don't think that he's good for you. How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion! Don't you get it? Why can't anybody have an opinion but you? That I don't think that he's good. That I